In April 1993, the coastline of West Africa offered nothing but raw, endless ocean. There were no coastal patrols, no cell service, and zero medical infrastructure. If you went into the water, you were entirely on your own. John Doyle was an American surfer who actively hunted for shorelines most people avoided. He wanted untouched swells, trading the safety of crowded beaches for the raw, violent power of the Atlantic. As he sat on his board waiting, the ocean was quiet. The sun was hot. But about 50 feet away, a massive great white shark was circling in the water, mapping out an opportunity to strike. Without warning, the surface shattered. The shark slammed into the bottom of the surfboard, launching John into the air with terrifying force. When he hit the water, the shark's jaws clamped directly onto his leg. This diagram illustrates the anatomy of a great white. You can't punch through its armored body mass. Instead, John hammered his fists into the shark's snout and eyes, overloading its nervous system until it released him. In the water, he grabbed his shattered surfboard and positioned it vertically, creating a makeshift wall, forcing the predator to bite fiberglass. Paddling back required pure mechanical motion. With his blood turning the surrounding water red, he caught an incoming wave, half expecting the jaws to pull him under it any second, until his elbows finally hit the sand. Surviving an apex marine predator on its home turf doesn't happen by matching its strength. It happens by understanding and exploiting the biology of how it hunts. Crawling onto the dry sand, the adrenaline began to fade, revealing a massive, deep wound. There was no clinic for hours. If he stayed on the beach, he would bleed to death. This circulatory map shows why his next move was critical. John tore his spare t-shirts into strips and tied them into tourniquets placed high on the thigh. This compressed the femoral artery, severely restricting the massive blood loss from his lower leg. He dragged himself into his Land Rover and started the engine. For over an hour, he navigated a harsh, unpaved road through the blistering African heat, every bump sending shocks of pain through his damaged leg. As the blood volume in his body dropped, his vision blurred. To fight off hypovolemic shock, John began screaming at himself, using aggressive, relentless self-talk to force his brain to stay active. Maintaining that level of mental focus provides a temporary barrier between consciousness and the body's impulse to fail under catastrophic blood loss. You can only cheat biology for so long. The extreme blood loss caused severe dehydration. Spotting a small natural spring surrounded by brush, his desperate need for hydration forced him to stop the vehicle and drag himself to the water. As he lay in the dirt taking tiny sips, the surrounding grass rustled. A pride of lions broke through the brush. Before he could react, one pounced, its teeth sinking directly into the right side of his chest, locking onto his lung. Already drained from the shark attack, John scraped the ground with his free hand, his fingers closing around a heavy rock. He bashed it violently into the lion's face. Stunned, the animal released its grip and stepped back. This flowchart shows terrestrial predator logic. Running instantly triggers a feline's prey drive. Crawling away means the pride pounces immediately. So he fought his exhaustion. He stood as tall as his shredded leg allowed, stared into their eyes, and hobbled backward without turning around. The intimidation tactic worked just long enough. He reached the Land Rover, threw himself inside, and slammed the door shut. But the relief evaporated when he looked down. In the chaos of the struggle, he had dropped his keys in the dirt, right next to the waiting lions. Surviving 2 different environments in a single day meant abandoning the marine survival logic he'd just used and immediately adopting its terrestrial opposite. Trapped in the vehicle with the keys out of reach, the drive to stay awake hit a final wall. John locked the doors, choosing to remain in the car rather than risk the certain death waiting outside in the dirt. 45 minutes passed. His eyes were heavy. Then a sharp sound broke the silence. The crack of a rifle, followed by the mechanical clicking of camera shutters. Outside, the lions panicked, scattered, and vanished into the brush. A local safari tour group had spotted the abandoned Land Rover surrounded by the pride. Realizing a person was inside, their guide fired warning shots into the air, pulled John from the wreckage, and rushed him to a nearby hospital. This medical body map illustrates the extent of the damage. Doctors worked frantically, using 250 stitches to close catastrophic wounds inflicted by predators from 2 completely different ecosystems. Physical recovery was agonizing, but the psychological healing required just as much endurance. Instead of burying the trauma, John kept the shattered, bitten surfboard, hanging it in his office as a daily monument to the fact that he was still alive. He took his story to the stage as a speaker, using his survival as a catalyst to help others value their own time. We often assume our physical bodies determine when the fight is over, but human limits are governed by the mind. John Doyle proved that as long as you still have breath, the decision to keep fighting